You know, a lot of folks in the carnivore community talk about buying a full cow or half a cow, but they never really tell you what that entails. So I did just that. A couple of hours ago, a local rancher delivered my half cow that I ordered from him. I ordered a grass fed, grain finished cow. And I know there are people out there who say, well, all cows are fed grass. Well, that's nice, but with respect, the grass fed definite designations, because there are multiples of them, mean have very specific definitions. And a grass fed cow is different than what you get typically at a grocery store. And I will make a video going over all those things for you so you know what they are. But the short version that I got is a half of a cow with 383 pounds of beef, including some organs, of a grass fed, grain finished cow. And the cow was never fed corn or soy. If the grains it was finished with for the last 3 months of his life were oats and barley. And the rancher that I buy it from is someone who is in the greater Oklahoma City area. You'll see the labeling maybe. If you're in the Oklahoma City area and you're wanting to buy beef in bulk, this is the rancher I recommend. Send me an email or ask me in the comments and I'll let you know who they are so you can find them on Facebook or you can find their website and look for yourself. But what I have here are is 383 pounds of some of the best beef I've ever had in my entire life. The most tender steaks, the best roasts I've ever had. And it's enough for, if I was not a carnivore, if I was eating the amount of beef a normal person would eat, my family of four would probably be able to live off this for the next year. Being a pretty strict carnivore now, this will last me until the fall. But we're going to take a look at what this is. I had to place this order with him. Well, let's see, this is late May 2022 when I received the order, and I placed the order with him in late March. So it took about 2 months, and it was delivered today, and I ended up giving some of this to my mother. But if you want to take a look at what we have here, this is what we're talking about here. This is a ton of meat, not literally, but almost literally. This order came with 60 pounds of 85% ground beef. That's right there. There's one box there, and there's another box not in camera. There are plenty of steaks here. Wish I'd put that one in front of the camera. But that is I believe, one of his ribeye steaks. He also included actually, no, that's one of the Delmonico steaks. He started offering those recently. Some chicken fried steak right there. Of course, they're not fried. There's the other box of ground beef. Of the 60 pounds that I received, I gave my mother 40 of it because I'm not big on ground beef. My wife likes ground beef, but I'm not wild about it. Tenderized round steak. So it's a lean cut, but again, adding fat on the carnivore diet is the easiest thing in the world. Look at that. Look at that T-bone steak right there. That is something I'm going to pull out of my freezer here in a minute and thaw and have for breakfast. That has got a nice little fat cap on it. His steaks are some of the best I've ever had. I know I already said that, but I'm not even kidding. There's one, again, the Delmonico steak, which is kind of a luxury 5-star restaurant kind of steak. He just started offering them, and they weren't on his cut list. But, I'm quite happy to have gotten one, and we will be trying those in the near future. Here is one of his cowboy cut ribeyes. When you look at it, it's going to look fairly lean, but because of the sort of condensation, what you don't see is the intramuscular fat. There's a lot of fat just speckled throughout the beef. There is liver, lots of liver. That's enough liver to last me the rest of the year because I'm not fond of liver, and as a general rule, I'll eat it periodically, but that's enough to last me the rest of the calendar year, without question. That is the beef hanging tender, a little closer up than I wanted. If you might know it as a butcher steak, it's one of my favorite cuts. More liver. I mean, it came with at least 4 pounds of liver. I think that actually came with 6 pounds. Let's see, what do we got there? Those are soup bones. So I'm going to end up making a bone broth. I've never made bone broth before, and I'm going to document my first attempt for you so you can see what I did. I'm going to probably do the classic outdoor crock pot method for making bone broth. But yeah, so here look at this. This is giant amounts of ribeye or roasts. Here is some more ground beef. We're talking 85% lean ground beef, grass-fed, grain-finished. His ground beef is good. I'm not wild about ground beef in general, but his is good. I'm going to be showing you how to make some tallow, and I'll be using this. I have 2 packages. I might pick up more from him for that purpose. If you want to see some cut ribs, these things are gigantic. I Yeah, beef short ribs, they are enormous. If he had left them attached, they'd be dinosaur ribs. That's how thick those things are. Let's see what else here. We've got that as a brisket. It's a half brisket cut lengthwise, so I get both the point and the flat, and I'm perfectly happy with half a brisket. I can easily buy more from him. His grass-fed briskets are amazing. 10 out of 10 recommend. We're going back to these steaks here just a little bit because they're beautiful. They're the kind of thing that everybody on who eats this way should consider doing is ordering a full cow. I mean, or half cow if you have room. I mean, even if you end up, getting a lot of lean cuts, again, it's easy to add fat to lean, right? So that's one of the roasts. I think that's the Pike's Peak roast, a pretty unusual roast. Most people don't ever see those. And here is a giant box of at least, I didn't count how many there were, but I think there's at least 6 chuck roasts with the bone in and a couple of arm roasts. I think those are the rump roasts. Yeah, those are the rump roasts. I pulled both of those out. I'm going to smoke one for myself and smoke one for my mother. I'm going to smoke them like a brisket. They're very lean, so the rules for smoking them are a little different than a normal brisket, but they're going to come out like a brisket. Yeah, bone-in chuck roasts. These are nice. I love smoking chuck roasts like the poor man's brisket. I mean, we're going to take a closer look here at one of them. Big chunk of meat there with the bone. Pro tip with the bones on these things: after you smoked it and you're cutting up the meat, take the bone out, put it in your bone bag so you can make some smoky broth. That's what you do with these. Not that I've ever made bone broth before, but I'm going to. And this is probably my favorite of the organ meats: pancreas, also called sweetbreads. They have very little vitamin A in it. For those who worry about vitamin A and iron, getting too much of that, they actually have a fair amount of vitamin C, of all things. And they're just easy to eat. Yes, I'll do a video on how to prepare them. You do prepare them like any other organ meat, though. Not sure what that cut is, but it's very bony. It might be more soup bones. That's 2 pounds. Oh, there's the bone marrow. Yes, those are one of my favorite things ever on the carnivore diet is to smoke the marrow bones and scrape the marrow out, and just add it to a lean meat. It's so good. I don't understand why it's so good either, but it just is. But you're going to get a long shot here shortly of what this looks like. What the whole thing looks like. This was like 10 of these boxes or more of the meat. So here we go. We're going to get in a kind of low, excuse my kids' high chair. I mean, there it is. Huge amount of meat. Just enormous. I mean, it speaks for itself, right? I mean, my freezer is ridiculous at this point. Like, I bought this freezer for this purpose, and we got the freezer back in February or March, and it's been sitting mostly empty since then, other than some a little bit of the heritage pork that I'm willing to eat. But I mean, look at this. This is crazy. And now as we go, and you're now getting a view of my freezer. Yeah, if you look closely, you can see like the very top shelf there is mostly pork with a little lamb. But a little bit of the beef wound up there too. But that second shelf from the top, that's my steak shelf. It's overstuffed. Yeah. And then there's roasts, including the brisket and a lot of the soup bones. More roasts, all the ground beef, and some of the odds and ends are down there. And then we look here. In the door are, you get a little bit of chicken wings, but mostly what you have in there are organ meats. Keeping my organ meats there. I'll have to start processing them. And yeah, that's what a half cow looks like. And I'm going to do a video, hopefully interviewing the rancher, because he will tell you how to properly buy a cow to get good beef and not get ripped off. But there you have it. That's a lot of meat. And I have no regrets. Right now, with the way people are talking about things coming in the next few months, at the very least, I know my family's got food. So it's good. And I'm not as worried as the news makes things sound like it could be. It's still nice having that safety net, right? And I've already spoken to him about if I were to order another half cow, in, aiming for around Thanksgiving when to order it. So, at the time, if I'm still doing this, I will do another video showing you what that looks like. But this is something I recommend for anybody who can do it. So what I ended up paying here was $4.50 a pound for 383 pounds. It turned out to be around, with sales tax, around on the low end of $1,700. That sounds like a lot. 383 pounds of meat. I'm just saying. So, and it was $4.50 a pound, which for ground meat may or may not sound like that great a deal because you can hit sales. But can you get a T-bone steak for $4.50 a pound? I've got quite a few T-bone steaks at $4.50 a pound, and each of them are about a pound. I have quite a few cowboy cut ribeyes at $4.50 a pound in there. I've got hanging tenders, also called the butcher's steak, at $4.50 a pound. I have a brisket at $4.50 a pound, which for a grass-fed brisket's a pretty good price. I did pretty well here. And we're going to have quite a lot of nice beef to go for us for the summer. But as these things go, my favorite cuts are actually the things you don't typically get when you order one of these kind of things. So you don't get marquee cuts. You don't get the really nice, like, roasts. When I say nice roasts, I mean things like your tri-tips. I love tri-tip. You don't get the sirloin cap, also called a picanha. You don't get those when you order beef this way. I could eat a sirloin cap and I could eat a tri-tip every day for the rest of my life and be perfectly happy. They're that good. They're both cut from the sirloin roast, so they tend to be leaner, but they always come with a nice fat cap on them, at least if you buy them properly. Looking at you, Costco. Costco right now is selling tri-tips, and they rip off the fat cap, so it's all super lean. And if you're going to make sandwich meat out of it, that's one thing, but that's, to me, the best part of smoking that kind of thing is the fat cap. So, yeah, I'll be buying those periodically from the rancher that I bought this from, because I love those cuts. And it'll make what I have here go fat further. Anyway, let me know what you thought of this in the comments, please. And if there's anything you want to know about buying a half cow, let me know in the comments. I'll try to answer them as best I can. And have an optimal day.